Okay, I did something I've never done before. I bid on 2 guitars at auction and I won both of them. This is the confirmation from Gardiner Houlgate, which is one of the premier guitar auction sites in the UK. And today we're going to look at the first one, a DeArmond Guild Jet-Star. But before I tell you about the whole auction experience, which by the way was my first one, and we review this guitar, let me tell you something very important which I hadn't thought of, and it's my fault, not blaming anyone else, but shipping is not included when you buy the guitar at auction. So just think about that when you set your final price, because I learned it the hard way. So today I'm going to tell you the whole story, the auction process, what I learned, and whether the Jet-Star was a worthwhile gamble. Because if you're thinking about buying a guitar at auction, you need to know what you're actually getting into. So let's start from the beginning. I've been watching these auctions at Gardiner Houlgate, but I never actually had the balls to go out and bid on anything. I don't know why, I was just a bit nervous about bidding, spending money on something that I've never tried and wouldn't have an occasion to try. Now, a few days before the auction, I was browsing through the catalog, as you do, because we've all got that gas, right? And at the back of my mind, I was thinking, you know what, there's gonna be some hidden gem in there, and it's not gonna cost that much, and you know, worst comes to worst, I'll make a good amount of money reselling it afterwards. So that old guitar flipping myth that we all have in our heads. And that's where I saw the Jet-Star. The listing was honest, it had a few dents at the back, but all the fundamentals were right. Beautiful color, so this beautiful deep red, USA DeArmond pickups, and most importantly, made in Korea in, I believe that's 1998. So a few years back. In my stupid limited view, that's kind of the age where I think things are not that expensive and will grow in value, especially with the Korean or Japanese guitars. So I placed a pre-bid on it and I just wanted to see what was going to happen. To be honest, I didn't have any expectations of winning it because I'm sure a pre-bid is before the auction goes live. And then once it goes live, people start bidding on it and it becomes too expensive. Little side tangent, in those couple of days before the auction went live, I then saw another guitar, which I won't tell you which one it is. And you know what? I did exactly the same thing. Don't know why, I just set a pre-bid on it, not thinking too much. So on the day, I was checking on my phone and we were getting close to the 456 lot number. Long story short, it went over my initial bid, but you know what? I just got carried away and kept placing another bid and I won it. Then half an hour later, I did exactly the same thing on the second one as well. Now, overall, the whole experience with Gardiner Houlgate was fantastic. As you can see, this is the second guitar. I haven't unboxed it yet, but they come fairly quickly, 3 to 5 days, and they're at your door. Very well packed. They don't come usually with a hard case unless it's specified in the listing, but it's properly wrapped, so there's no damage in transit. Here she is. I've got to say, as soon as I picked her up, I thought, wow, quite a bit heavier than I thought. Not too heavy. I know some of you guys may hate this shape, but you know what? Life is boring enough. We need to have cool looking guitars, and this is just a cool looking guitar in my book. Condition wise, it's exactly spot on as it was detailed on the auction site. So a few minor dings, but everything is perfect. Now very quickly, before we move on to the actual guitar, let's just talk about DeArmond as a brand. I know a lot of you may think that DeArmond was mainly a pickup builder initially and then produced some cool resonator jazz guitars, but there is a whole lot more. The company was actually founded in the 1930s in the US by Harry DeArmond and very quickly became famous for their floating magnetic pickup that you can kind of see on vintage style archtop guitars. Now you may be thinking, where does Guild come into this? Well, fast forward to 1997, Fender acquired the DeArmond name along with Guild guitars. And ultimately what they decided to do was kind of build a budget or slightly lower costing series of DeArmond by Guild guitars in the Far East, notably the first ones in Korea. Think of it kind of like Squire to Fender. These guitars were built in Korea to Guild specifications and using Guild design. The Jet-Star particularly was one of the most popular, produced roughly from 1998, I believe, to 2001. Now, what's really interesting about this first couple years of the DeArmond Guild guitars is that they have proper USA pickups in them and high quality, but really high quality materials. These are not to be confused with the slightly later model, which were made actually in China, I think, or Indonesia, one of the two, that have a slightly lower pick guard and don't have USA original DeArmond pickups. So that brings us nicely to the specs of the guitar. The body is a full nice slab of mahogany. I was looking for a long time at the back, trying to see how many pieces it is. I can definitely see one here, so this kind of area here, and to the best of my ability, I actually can't see another one. If I were to take a guess, either 2-piece or maximum a 3-piece with the 2 wings stuck on to the center. But who cares? As long as it's properly done, I think that's not an issue. As you can see, it's got a beautiful set neck construction with a rosewood fingerboard. You've got these nice, quite traditional block inlays, and the scale length is a very traditional, again, 24.75. It does feel slightly different when you hold it, simply because this cutaway is so comfortable that it feels like you've got a bit of a longer neck. But no, that's, I guess, one of the main advantages of this guitar. In terms of the hardware, this is one of the things that really attracted me to this specific guitar. You've got the original USA-made DeArmond pickups, and these are amazing quality pickups. Just a little spoiler for you guys, very cool looking pickups. Then you have a very standard volume, tone, and a 3-way selector switch. Just on the aesthetic side, I really like the slightly smaller tone knobs. Looks pretty cool. The volume are bigger and grip nicely. It just looks really nice. In terms of hardware, everything is chrome. You have traditional frets, the funky tailpiece, and at the back you have Grover style but not branded tuners. Now, yeah, I don't know, they have no marks on there, but they feel good quality and they just do their job. In terms of the nut, which is another thing that I'm always careful about, it's really nicely cut. I think this is bone by the touch of it. Scrap that, it's not a bone nut. Or maybe it is. I don't know what kind of nut this is. I'd have to take it out to check, but you have the nice bird at the top and the Guild here. So overall, I can see no shortcuts here. This is a solid ass guitar. You can hit someone on the head. Feels really, really good. Aesthetically, I love it. All right, guys, let's hear what it sounds like. So let's start off clean, shall we? I'm going from the guitar straight to the Joyo preamp house into Celestion Speaker Mix Pro for the cabinet. That's it. I've got a little bit of reverb, but I didn't want to muddy things up too much so you guys could actually hear the guitar and not the effects. So let's start off in the neck pickup. Everything is up. Let's bring that tone down a little bit. Pots are slightly scratchy. It's really warm, but not muddy, at least to my ears. I guess that's where the mahogany comes in, and the excellent pickups. They're definitely not as muddy as a Gibson neck pickup would be. Let's now go to the middle. And the cool thing about having 2 sets of controls like this is that you can obviously balance them out between the neck and the bridge pickup in the middle. So let's see what it sounds like. I like it. It's very unique, definitely different from a Gibson guitar would sound like. Let's move on to the bridge. Okay, let's put a moderate amount of gain on. Let's start in the bridge pickup and see what it can do. Let's move to the middle position. Nice! See what I was saying about the neck pickup? I just played the same riff on the neck pickup and it's not muddy at all. It sounds really good. Go up in gain. That will do. Also put a bit of delay. Let's see what they sound like. Let's just talk about how it feels to play this guitar. The neck, I've got to say, is comfortable. It really is. It's definitely not a thin neck, so if you're expecting a thin neck, wrong guitar. But it's actually super comfortable. I'm not the massive fan of kind of lacquered necks because sometimes they feel a bit sticky, and this has a little bit of that, but I can live with it. The binding on the neck looks fantastic and it's done really nicely. There are no paint defects whatsoever. I mean, the Koreans in 1998, wow, what a good finish. Maybe some companies today might want to look into this. The frets feel really, really nice. There's no fret wear. They're perfectly smooth on the side. They just need to be buffed up a little bit. One thing that's really surprised me is the guitar obviously came with all the strings slack, so I tuned it up. You know what? The action, intonation, and the neck were spot on. Really, really good. Great action. Look at that. Low, great. It doesn't buzz anywhere. Maybe I just got lucky with it. The tuners, as I said, no brand, but you know what? They do their job. They stay in tune. Might be a potential upgrade if you want, but for the moment, they do what they're supposed to do. Overall, the build quality, you can't really fault this. I can't get out of my mind the feeling that something of this quality today would cost well in the thousands, because it's a really well-made guitar. So now let me be completely honest and talk about the pros and cons and my opinions. In terms of pros, following on from what we just said, this has real balls. It has genuine Guild DNA to it. The construction is rock solid. I mean, it's a solid ass guitar. The DeArmond gold tone pickups sound amazing. I think these are probably Alnico 5s, not your typical humbucker sound, but a little more refined. It's kind of a mix between a Gretsch sound and a Les Paul. Really perfect humbuckers, at least for my style of playing. The neck is comfortable, so that's definitely a pro for me. And I think overall, the guitar is heavy, but look, perfectly balanced. It sits really nicely when you're playing up or sitting down. So design-wise, it's good. I find the red finish and the distinctive look and body shape a slam dunk for me. This, in my opinion, should be referenced under the word sexy. However, as always, let's talk about the cons as well, because with everything there's cons, right? And I'm gonna start with that final bit. Look, I appreciate the looks and the aesthetics of this guitar aren't for everyone. It has quite a polarizing look to it. A link to that, it's not a light guitar. It's not a small guitar. It's kind of like a Firebird size guitar. So again, maybe someone who wants to be slightly more technical or wants a lighter guitar, it may be slightly on the heavy side for you. Third of all, and it's kind of a bit sad to say, but maybe there's a bit of resale risk here, because DeArmond isn't really as well known as Guild can be. It has that name, but it's a slightly more specialized name. So if I were to resell this on, it would certainly do better with having just Guild on the top. And my final con, not linked to the guitar, but as we said at the beginning of the video, auctions guitars, unless you go there, you can't try them. So if you're doing an online auction, you might not like the way it plays. I think I got away with it because I really like this guitar, how it feels. But there's definitely a risk, and that's something to consider. So moving on from that point about the auction risk, these are the lessons that I learned. As I said, first time I buy at auction, so hopefully it might be useful for some of you to know my reactions to it. I think the initial research phase of when you spot a guitar on an online auction or a physical auction, you need to know what you're bidding on. So do a bit of research. I had been following this guitar, so I was quite familiar with the initial run that was made in Korea and the craftsmanship that went into it. But there were some guitars there that I had no idea, and having kind of a base to at least be able to put an adequate bid on something is very important in my view. The second thing, and again, I'm maybe not the best one to be preaching about this, but please set your maximum bid. Set a threshold, don't get carried away, because it can be done very easily. Link to that, please, please, please check out if shipping is included or not included, because I completely forgot about shipping costs and they were quite expensive, even UK to UK. You need to add that to the price of whatever guitar you're bidding on, because that came as quite a big shock to me. In terms of bidding strategy, it's all really personal and up to you. But one of the things I've noticed is don't bid on the first guitar that you see, because especially Gardiner Houlgate have a massive catalog. So when they have these quarterly guitar auctions, it's big and there's tons of guitars. So make sure you look at every single one there, or filter it out for the kind of guitar that you want, because there may be a more accessible guitar coming up. And also my personal view, try to bid on the guitars that are less well known. The Fenders, the Gibsons, the well-known guitars went like that at stupid prices. The less known ones, and especially the kind of 90s guitars made in Korea, made in Japan, definitely more accessible. And you know what? All things being equal, they should become classics because they're really great guitars. So guys, let's go to final verdict. Was this auction gamble worth it for me? Absolutely. I think this DeArmond Jet-Star is a super cool guitar. It's something different which I didn't have in my collection. I maybe spent a little more money than I wanted to. I have mixed feelings about that, but I've got to say, in terms of the guitar, I am perfectly happy with it. It just makes me feel good. It's a great guitar, feels good, sounds good, ticks all the boxes for me. And most importantly, I can find an equivalent of this guitar nowadays that I can afford, that I liked as much. In terms of the auction experience, it was a little bit nerve-wracking, and when you see someone else bid for that guitar that you want, I made a stupid ass mistake of just bidding again and getting into a little bit of a fight with them because I really wanted to, or maybe I didn't want it, but I just got carried away. I don't know, I'm an idiot. so try not to do what I did. But overall, Gardiner Houlgate, fantastic. Delivery was on time, clear communication. Would I buy from them again? Probably, and in fact, as I said at the beginning, I got 2 of them, but this was a surprise. Maybe the overall experience was slightly more expensive than I had anticipated. So if we want to give ratings, the guitar, 9 out of 10. I'm so happy with it. The auction process, again, I'll give it a rating of 8.5, 9, because it was really smooth, communication was great. The shortcomings are mainly my fault, but hey, you just live and learn, right? Let's wrap this up. I didn't think at my age I could have a learning experience, but I actually did. And one of the lessons is that these brands, this mid-90s era, holds a lot of hidden treasures actually. And these are really, really good guitars, and sometimes you just gotta take risks. The key, I think, is just to know what you're getting into and researching it, thinking about shipping costs, thinking about buyer's fees, about potentially the guitars not being set up properly. Just bear that in mind. For me, it was a whole lot of fun, and I haven't to say I'm no longer an auction virgin. That didn't sound right. But I think I'll probably stay off auction sites for a little bit now until at least my wallet recovers. So thank you as always, guys. Next week, I shall show you this baby. Maybe a little extra surprise as well. Let me know in the comments as always, have you bought a guitar from Gardiner Houlgate or generally at auction? What do you think? Can you find any bargains? I don't know, today's world, it's becoming really, really difficult. If you can, hit that subscribe button. If you can't, don't worry about it. Thank you so much, I really appreciate it. You guys are the best. I hope you all have fun in this wonderful world. Look outside, it's beautiful. Let's just enjoy every single moment. Thank you for watching, guys. See you in a little bit. Peace.